Testing, testing.
Good morning. It is 10 o'clock, so we're going to like to start the meeting, and I want to acknowledge that we are holding this meeting on the traditional territory of the Coast Salish people, in particular the Qualicum First Nation. So we have the agenda. Any changes to the agenda? Then the agenda is adopted by consent. The bylaw for tax rates. Mr. Hare.
Thank you, Your Worship. So we've received, I wasn't prepared to speak to that because I thought it was just adoption, but we've received first 3 readings on the tax rates bylaw. Tax rates are set to collect the amount of revenue included in the approved financial plan. We are in the process of preparing tax bills based on those rates as well. So today's meeting, we're looking for formal adoption of the bylaw. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. Could I have a motion for adoption? Councillor Young, Councillor Svenevog, discussion. Councillor Harrison.
Just before we do adoption, one thing which is not very important because there are 0 businesses paying it, but we have the exact same rate as the light industry as the heavy industry tax rate. And if we ever do get heavy industry, we'd want to change that. So for the future, something to look at in the future, but we probably want to think of changing it before someone shows up and says, wow, I'm getting a great deal. And they say, oh no, you shouldn't be getting a great deal. By the way, you should be paying twice as much. Sorry, like everyone else does. So just something to flag. It is in our OCP for the airport that we might have something that would eventually be in that category. So if you looked at our OCP, it says solar panel manufacturing. That would qualify in that tax rate. And then there would be a very ugly surprise for a business who thinks they've got a hell of a deal in Qualicum Beach, and turns out we just forgot to update our tax rate.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Any? Carried. Thank you. Staff reports, corporate admin. Ms. Swenson.
Thank you, Mayor Westbrook. The first item is the Family Day road closure. So we're asking for council to approve Family Day being held on Sunday, May 25th, with a road closure to conduct the parade and a budget of up to $10,000 for the event.
Councillor Gipsy's first moving, Councillor Svenevog seconding. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed, if any? Carried. Thank you. Please proceed.
Thank you. The next item before you is the Quality of Foods Festival of Lights for 2025. The event organizers are asking to hold the event on Saturday, May 24th, starting at dusk on the waterfront. There is a bit of background on this one. Council did consider this matter last year, and at that time approved the event and asked that a meeting be held at the conclusion of the event between the town and the event organizer. Unfortunately, due to circumstances unforeseen, I was absent in the latter part of last year, and also the manager who was in charge of the event for Quality Foods retired. So there was a miscommunication. The letter was sent to Quality Foods asking for the meeting, but given my absence and the lack of a manager there, they weren't aware that council had asked for this year to be considered to do an alternate means of some form of lights. So the application has come forward. So staff are recommending to allow the event to proceed this year, but to actually have a resolution this year rather than just a note saying that the town we look at alternate means for future years.
Anybody interested in making the motion? Councillor Harrison, seconded. Councillor Young, discussion. Councillor Harrison.
So I do have a bit of an issue with putting in the resolution now, and we haven't even had the conversation. There is a significant price difference between fireworks and drone shows. And the other issue to consider is that in strong winds, drone shows have to shut down. So they can't operate when there's heavy winds. The drones could get damaged. So there was a BC community which last year was one of the first to do the drone shows, and they had to cancel the show because of inclement weather. So I still think that if we haven't had that conversation, by all means, let's have that conversation, because if it comes back that the cost is, say, double for them to put it on, and they say, well, we don't have the budget from QF to pay for that, it'd be a shame to lose the event altogether when we have a resolution, when we haven't had a conversation yet. So I just suggest that, we can make that resolution at a future date, but maybe let's just go back and have the conversation first before we have that resolution that's hard, and then have another conversation publicly where maybe we should have had that conversation first.
Thank you. Any further comments? Councillor Van der Valk.
Yeah, I still, as last year, I still have very strong hesitations about going ahead with the Festival of Lights, regardless of, if it's, we don't necessarily want to or have to replace it with drones instead. Like perhaps it could still be a celebration, but take a different form, and that's a little more progressive. I do have concerns about the ecological effects of having the fireworks. We did at AVICC, we had a resolution where they were hoping to ban the sale of fireworks, and there was a person that spoke. I can't remember the person's name or the person's where she was from, but she listed off all the chemicals that are in the fireworks, and I think it is a concern, even if the Department of Fisheries doesn't seem to be concerned about it because they're allowing it. I think that we should be, and I think we're having World Ocean Day celebration or conference in Tainamara in a few months. So I strongly, I have strong hesitations about going ahead with fireworks, period. So I wouldn't actually be in favor of them having the fireworks this year.
I love fireworks, but I'm not as ignorant from the past about fireworks. We are now knowledgeable about the environmental impact. And I appreciate all that Q Foods always does for our community, and that they want to go forward with, again, a celebration. But given the times, the current times, the money could be better spent on whether they did gift baskets in their grocery store, checked out the food bank to see if they needed more groceries. It seems to be a little bit of a waste of money, but it is very appreciative of Q Foods always wanting to be doing something for the community. But given the impact of fireworks on the environment, I can't be supportive of this, and I feel that despite that there was a retirement of the manager and Heather was not around, there was a lot of controversy last year regarding the fireworks, and we should have had the discussion, or Q Foods should have had that discussion and looked into it a little more instead of asking now, kind of at the 11th hour, the month of May, that they want to do the fireworks to see if we're going to allow it. So I'm hoping they can pivot from this and do something else.
Thank you, Councillor Young. Councillor Skipsey.
Well, I'm in agreement with the previous two speakers, and I do appreciate Quality Foods commitment to community, and they've always been that way. But last year, I remember coming with my list of all the reasons why fireworks are not about community health, in my opinion, from PTSD to toxins released in the environment to sometimes tragic outcomes for wildlife, especially birds and bats and whatnot. And being that this is in a wildlife management area, I don't feel it's appropriate. I would love to see QF be involved in some other way in this event, working with community. I think we can maybe put our heads together and come up with something else that is meaningful and important for the community. So I won't be supporting this. Thank you.
Thank you. A few years ago, they actually offered to promote and pay for all the costs related to Family Day itself. But at that time, the chair of the committee says, no, the town's paying for it. So he didn't take him up on it. So they were willing to do something for Family Day. And there may be other things, and we've got some communications from folks who have thought of some other ways where they could improve the quality of life for a number of people, but not necessarily through fireworks. I also understand the dilemma from staff's perspective that the letter that we sent didn't make it through, but that's not really our problem. If they send a letter to the town, and yeah, they did send a letter, but the person they sent it to is no longer working with us, you think there'd be somebody else who'd pick up the mail. So I'm not sure how that got lost in transition, but it is an issue for me as well, and I kind of hope that we can have a discussion with them and say there must be another way for you to help celebrate Family Day or the weekend before or after, or some other ways where you could promote what you wish to do to help improve the quality of life for people in Qualicum Beach, including the quality of life for our wildlife. Councillor Harrison.
Yeah, I just want to point out two things, though. Like, we did basically last 2 years double the size of our administrative staffing component. So for us to say that, it's just one person that's responsible for that, we have several people who work in administration who could have picked up the ball on this. So I think it's not quite fair to say it's their fault solely. It's also our fault too. I think it's both parties here have to wear a bit of it. If we have a resolution, you just send out one letter and then you don't follow up past that, when there's been no response, it's also partly on us. But I think the real thing to think about for this is that think of the uproar when Halloween no longer was an event. Right, there was a pretty significant number of people in the community. There aren't a lot of things that happen in the evening that are available for families to attend. There are a lot of events during the daytime, and that's great, but there aren't a lot of things that happen at night. So that's one of the reasons why Moonlight Madness, you see so many families there. It's because it's an evening event. So I just caution that I think the majority of council is going to vote this down, but what we're really voting on is the traffic issues. We're not voting on the actual permit itself. That's actually another jurisdiction. So if they get the permission for it and they just host it anyways and everyone can show up as they please, might not be the best thing for the town.
Yes, so what would happen if we said, hypothetically, we said, no, we're not going to support this firework event, but they can say, well, we got the permits from DFO or whoever they deal with, and we're going to have a barge come out from French Creek, and we're going to do the fireworks, and anybody can see it from wherever they are. So what would happen in that scenario? How would we respond as far as they're supposed to look after traffic control and basically everything? So what would happen in that case? Can anybody respond to that?
Thank you, Mayor Westbrook. I think it would require a bit more discussion between staff in terms of the implications, but it is important to clarify that the barge where the fireworks are launched is outside of the town boundary and clearly not within the town's jurisdiction. The issue would be that there's a local organization promoting, essentially promoting an event without proper traffic control and those precautions. So I think it would require a bit more discussion, but Councillor Harrison is correct that the town couldn't refuse or deny them the opportunity to launch the fireworks outside of the town's jurisdiction.
Yeah, and so based on that, I would support going ahead this year, but I would want them to know, I think the community is with us on this, that we should look at something else. One year when I helped organize Family Day, we had smoke and and lighting. I don't know if you remember that. This was back in 2001, I think. Family Day was going to be canceled. So I said, no, we can't cancel it. So I took it on as coordinator, and we had smoke and mirror, not smoke and mirror, but smoke and radar or something like that. Smoke and fire? No, smoke and radar. Laser, yeah, in the Civic Center, and also karaoke. And the place was packed with family, and and those who didn't want to be there could go to the pool, and they had the pool open with a movie from Jaws playing while they were swimming. But it attracted a lot of families, and it was a good night. A lot of people showed up. They had music, they had some food, they had all kinds of things. So there are other ways of doing things for families outside what we do during the day, so as we know it's Family Day. So I would support to go ahead this year, but then communicate with QF and say there are other ways for you to promote families, and so we want to talk about that. Councillor Young.
I just want to clarify that on behalf of Family Day Committee, we have no alliance with the Festival of Lights, and just want to publicly have that acknowledged, that the fireworks has nothing to do with the Family Day event that is put on by the town of Qualicum Beach.
You mean Family Day is the town of Qualicum Beach, but Festival of Lights is QF? Yeah, separate. Councillor Van der Valk.
Just have a question. So if we said, well, if we're thinking we can't say yay or nay in terms of the fireworks being on the barge, do we not have then any control over the extra traffic and crowds that are going to be there, might be there? How would we control that? Because it would be a problem, right?
And that's the dilemma. With a recommendation that talks about how to help manage the traffic, they have to get traffic control themselves, but we can provide barricades, do other things, as you see in the report. So that is the dilemma. And I think council staff thought about that, and I think there's notes in your report to say this is how it would work as based on in the previous years.
So if they said we're going to go ahead anyways, then we have no control over how they handle things. Is that what you're?
That's right. Councillor Harrison.
Basically, we would have to make the choice, do we want to have the waterfront unregulated, or do we want to pay for hiring someone to look after it on the town's dime? And that would be the choice.
Say that again, please.
So basically, you'd have a choice between either we do nothing, and you potentially have a lot of people on the waterfront, and then you have a highway with a lot of pedestrians at night, which there was a fun fact on the news a little while ago, a few months ago. The average 60-year-old requires 3 times as much light to see the same as an average 20-year-old. So with our demographics and the drivers, just saying. And then the other option is we pay for it. And then if they decide to go ahead, well, we pay for it. Right now, they're basically saying we'll pay for it. QF would pay for, my understanding at least of the recommendation is that QF would be responsible for all the folks who'd be managing traffic.
Yeah.
But if they just decide to go ahead, you can't very well say, we're not giving you permission, but you have to pay for something we didn't give you permission for. I think that would have to be us making a decision individually as to whether we do nothing and roll the dice, or whether we do something and cover the cost.
Thank you. Councillor Young.
Can we ask QF to reconsider? Can they possibly look at this and, now that they've heard us, maybe come up with a different plan that will be more acceptable?
Ms. Svensson.
I can speak on the part that I know, and then through the chair to Mr. Sales could also comment, because we've both been working on it. But this is something they want to do for this year, and we have spoken explaining council's discussion from last year. As I said, there's new people, so they weren't aware, and they can't shift gears this short of notice to try to do something different. I don't know if Luke Sales wants to add anything to that.
Thank you. What I would add is that we did have a discussion I discussed with a member of the QF staff, explained that the town very much values the community contribution and the fact that they're willing to make the donation of resources to put on this community event. And at the same time, I repeated some of the concerns that council had expressed last year, and the fact that it was in the letter. So in that discussion, I asked them specifically whether there was some other form of community contribution they would consider that would be sort of an equivalent value or recognized. And I did bring up the concept, for example, if they wanted to make a contribution towards Family Day, and maybe the town would recognize that. So they had a discussion after she and I had this conversation, and they came back on Monday and said we would very much like to continue with the fireworks show, and then they submitted the special event application.
There you have it. I think we've looked at it from different angles. There was a motion on the floor to approve the recommendation, Ms. Svensson. That is sort of the motion is to approve this. But there was an issue regarding alternate methods. And perhaps we could, rather than saying alternative display method being utilized like drones, whether there was an alternative method to support the community in different ways. Would that be acceptable? Councillor Skipsey?
Thank you, Mayor Westbrook. I did have my hand up because I was concerned with that last and further that. So I think changing it to just leaving it open-ended would be a better suggestion.
So how would we structure that? At future consideration of council supporting the Family Day event be contingent on alternative ways to demonstrate?
Alternative participation or something?
Participation, yep. I think that sounds reasonable enough. I mean, it's open-ended, and staff, I think, heard our conversation. So I think we're looking at a different way for QF to be involved in the Family Day weekend. So is that clear enough, Ms. Svensson?
Yes, thank you. If it would be a friendly amendment then for the mover, which was Councillor Harrison, if we strike after the and further that we'll strike display method being utilized, example drone, we'll strike that and insert the word participation after alternative?
No, this is not a friendly amendment. This is an amendment.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry. Okay, so the moved by Councillor Skipsey, seconded by Mayor Westbrook, that we will strike display method being utilized and insert the word participation after alternative.
That's right. All right, so with that amendment,
You have to vote on the amendment.
well, that's right. So we're voting on what you just read. I hope everybody can have a good memory, because I think what I heard was alternative ways to participation.
Yes.
Yes, good. Participation, good word. Okay, so on the amendment, for the discussion, Councillor Harrison.
Yeah, I won't be voting for the amendment because I think the Festival of Lights is a Qualicum Beach tradition. We've lost several traditions in the last few years, Fire and Ice, Halloween, a whole bunch of other events. I think it'd be a shame to lose this one for QF just putting their name on something we're already doing.
All right, further discussion on the amendment. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Councillor Harrison opposed. So with the main motion as amended.
And just an amendment, which I'm sure will go nowhere. But I would just amend that we strike the bottom and further out on page 1, which is just, and further that the town be notified, Quality Foods be notified in writing. This will be the final approval from council, et cetera.
Okay, that's your amendment. You want to delete that
Yeah,
paragraph?
and if
Okay.
there's a no seconder, we just move on to the main question.
Yeah, oh no, I'm with you there. So no amendment, the amendment is not seconded, so it dies. So basically, the amendment that we passed with the staff recommendation. All in favor? It passed. Opposed? Councillor Harrison, Councillor Vandervalk, opposed. Motion carries. Thank you. Endorsement of a bench. Who's going to speak to that? Ms. Svensson.
Thank you, Mayor Westbrook. So further to the meeting that we held going over the bench policy, this is to just tidy up everything and have it very clear that council authorizing staff to install the bench that we discussed on the corner of Sunningdale Road East, and that will be added to the regular inventory, bench inventory, and then we will also then offer the sponsorship first to Berwick, as they were the ones that had asked. If they don't wish to sponsor it, then it'll be in the inventory for any member of the public to sponsor that bench.
Just a clarification, if they ask for it, why wouldn't they sponsor that bench?
I'm sure they will, but we want to go through the proper process.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
So any discussion? All in favor? Opposed, if any? Carried. Thank you.
Oh,
Now-
sorry, did we,
Yes?
I didn't get a mover and seconder.
Pardon?
Did we get a mover and seconder?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, it was, I saw a hand go up this side, Councillor Skipsey, Councillor Harrison. So that was the mover and seconder?
Okay. I didn't see that.
I think we passed it. All in favor? Now, motion to close, and then we'll take a couple of minutes break to get adjusted. Got a motion, Councillor Vanderwaal, Councillor